been a wild ride this year.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, isn't it? Just listening to your story, it's just been a sort of ebb and flow of things going through, through your career and everything else. Wow, that's interesting. Just a lot of stuff to unpick from there, because obviously you've got this combination of growing up and going to study and then realizing that, teaching was your thing and you can share that knowledge and wanting to go into that. But then hitting all this bureaucracy and everything else within that is sort of knocking you back. In a way, it does look that, the teaching and that sharing of information and seeing young kids sort of grow from that. It's part of your passion, you're something that you value highly. Which, I think is it Dr. John DiMartino, who talks about values, and when you're doing something you're passionate about, then all the challenges are sort of, you enjoy them. But within that, you've gotten the challenges and gotten into getting to test the entrepreneurship side of things as well. In a way, you seem to have stumbled it because of the challenges you're facing somewhere. So what else can I do? And those thoughts, but then trying to make a success of it, and eventually getting to realize that you can actually combine the two, and everything culminating into where you are today. So it's just been quite an amazing story. Just taking you back to like the early days, you mentioned, your parents were very supportive with everything that you are doing, but also in yourself, you had the, like you said, the confidence, and you're that nerd. You could, applying to Cambridge, you're confident that, potentially you could get in, which you did, and you did quite well with that as well. Do you think, obviously the support and the help of the parents played quite a big role as well, but for people who may not have that, do you think there's something in people themselves other than the support outside that can actually help them to actually realize themselves, to get the confidence to actually push themselves to do other things? Like if you look back, let's say if your situation was different and the parents were not there to support you, would you have achieved or gone on to do the similar things and similar push you get yourself, education wise, for example?
I don't know, but I like to think so. For me, the big jump in confidence happened at sixth form. Yeah. So I'd gone through my GCSEs and everything was fine, and I just kind of plodded along. We, as a school, used to have a big end of term assembly. So we had use of a theatre just up the road from the school. And we'd have this massive, everyone in the school would go and sit. They'd have the stage set up, the lights, the full works. And we had various really impressive performers at school. And one year, I think it was year 11 probably, I volunteered as a duet, so I wouldn't have to do it on my own, went and stood on the stage and sang. And it was terrible because we were both so shy. When your hand is shaking and your voice is shaking and you're shaking, and it was just, the mic wasn't working to start with. It was awful. But I went from that to, do you know what? I know I love doing this stuff. So performing arts was one of the other A-levels that I did. And as part of that, you have to step outside your comfort zone. And you have to do things that scare you a little bit. You have to perform in front of people. You have to try new things. And that was probably the key for me, was that being pushed enough to step outside my comfort zone and realize that actually I could do this, which then led to, just after my A-levels, I got invited back to then perform at the celebration evening for year 11s. And I did that on my own. I sat, played the piano, sang in front of the same room full of people. That difference in 2 years was largely, I think, just due to stepping outside my comfort zone, which I don't know if I'd have done on my own. I needed someone to push me, but it doesn't need to have been parents. That was teachers. So I think that do something that scares you a little bit every day. So say yes and then figure out how.
Yeah. Because ultimately, it's all about you yourself, isn't it? Because you can get so much support. People can, push you so much, but if you don't take that jump yourself to realize that, it's all about you, then it's, there's nothing else. Because they say there's only one kind of motivation, isn't it? Which is your self-motivation. But you can pull upon the support and the help from everyone around you, but ultimately it's you. And it looks like, for you, you realized that and you took your chance and you propelled on and got to where you needed to be, which is quite inspiring for people, despite everything else and all the challenges that came within. So just picking up on another point, because obviously for people when they are looking to do something, whether it's in business or anything, it does help to have like a vision or a plan which you then work towards achieving. So for you, obviously, like we said, education and teaching was something you're passionate about. But when you're facing all these problems, did you, obviously things came up and entrepreneurship, but did you have like a clear sort of vision as to this is the direction that I want to go, and then this is the plan, and then take the steps, or you were just taking opportunities as they came along to actually change your direction, fit things in as things were happening?
It was a bit of both. So when I was teaching, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to work my way up to the leadership area of the school. And that obviously then was no longer a thing. And then it was just a bit of what opportunities can I find? But I knew from the beginning that what I wanted to do was make sure that I designed it so that I could actually have a life again.
Yeah.
Because as a teacher, when your child is, I mean, it depends where you work, but my daughter had an Achievers Assembly. So she was being given some award and you'd have to beg for the time off or get someone to cover your lesson. Or even if you weren't teaching that lesson, you'd still have to beg to be allowed to go. And those kind of things are a big deal for your child, for your relationship with them. And as an entrepreneur, I now make my own hours. I can do what I like. I can do my work when I like, largely. Because I've designed it to be that way. I didn't want to leave teaching and go back into another kind of 9 to 5, even though that would have been less hours than teaching. I didn't want to have someone else dictating to me what my life would look like, what my working day would look like. So all of the things that I did were all on the same sort of theme. I want something that I can do on my terms, that I'm in charge of. So I'm not at someone else's mercy anymore, because I'd been put off at that point from bosses. And I wanted to be able to kind of be the master of my own destiny. And I wanted to get Paul out of teaching as well. So my husband had been teaching a year longer than me by that point, because I'd got out and he was still the breadwinner. We talked long and hard about when we could justify him leaving teaching to come and then work full-time in the business. And he's now been working full-time in the business for about, I want to say 6 months. It's been a while. So working towards that us working together from home, making our own hours, doing our own thing, that's been the big thing that we were working towards. And now it's just looking to the future and being self-sufficient enough, bringing in sufficient income that we can have a big enough house that we can do the big family Christmases. That's big family holidays. My parents do a big, me, my brother, my sister, and all our families come and stay together in the summer and have a staycation, or we go away somewhere together. Have a big family Christmas, usually at their house. I want to be able to do that with our kids. So that is now my big why. That's what I'm working for. That's brilliant. So, I mean, would you say then, because a lot of people make decisions or change direction of their life when they get faced with like big shocks of life events that happen to them. I mean, looking back for you,
if you hadn't faced some of these challenges you faced in teaching, and everything was sort of going swimmingly and enjoying, because education and teaching was your passion and everything else wasn't as bad, do you think you probably wouldn't have ended up where you are now? You would have continued with your teaching and got into the senior leadership positions and everything you did? Yeah,
I'd have still been in a school right now dealing with the various bits of fallout from the latest government information that comes out at the very last second. I'd have very much still been there, as would Paul, I think.
But then if you look at your life and where you are today,
thank goodness. Thank goodness for those 2 bad bosses in a row.
So almost everything happens for a reason, isn't it? And it takes us to an important point that when you face challenges and things are happening, sometimes it's good to sort of obviously there's the downside of it as they're happening, but you can also look to see, okay, does these challenges present opportunities for me to, just like you put it, to step outside of my comfort zone, maybe look at what else is out there in the world that can challenge me or even enrich my life, and review your goals. You mentioned there, you would sit with your husband and discuss what is the plan to actually get him out and all this kind of thing. So is that, I guess, something that would come naturally? Because some people would crumble. I mean, you went through the wobbles of those depression and things that would come. I mean, what would you say to people who would find themselves in similar situations? Like, how do they look at life in a different way, look at those challenges in a different way, in a way that you did, obviously, after a bit of a wobble?
We always tell parents and students that if you can see things as an opportunity rather than a threat, it makes it a lot easier to face. So, for example, mock exams normally freak students out. They see it as a threat. What if I get terrible results? It's not. It's an opportunity to see what you do know and what you don't know and prepare properly for that. It takes a bit of training, a bit of mindset work to get to the point where you can look for the positives and you can look for the opportunities, and you can always find them in every situation. It might take a little while, but it is true that what doesn't kill you does make you stronger. And all of the various challenges that you face are pushing you towards the person that you need to be. It's tough to see that at the time, I think. But it's, I think things are sent to us to shape us. And that is always a good thing. You just have to kind of keep looking for the positives and appreciate that you can't always see them straight away. But when you look back, there they are, staring you in the face. So, it's opportunities rather than threats. But you do have to train yourself to do that. We always sit down as a family when we have dinner and go around the table and have to do positives of the day. What things have happened today that have been a positive, and sometimes it's a challenge when you've had one of those days, but you have to find one. That's the rules, and it's just retraining your brain to look for the good.
No, that's a very sort of quite inspiration, isn't it, to understand. Like you're saying, it takes a bit of time, but if you can train yourself to actually look for that, it is, because just like you're saying, for you looking back in hindsight, there's all those terrible things happening, but when you look back, you think, actually, they presented opportunities. If I had been trained or stopped to think, I could have spotted them and probably did some other things sooner than the way that you did. So that's a really good tip to sort of teach even kids. Like you're saying, you go on a round table and, pick what terrible thing you think has happened to you. Give me a positive from that. And you're absolutely right. In almost anything, there's positives, when you sit to think. So that's really good. So what's the vision for the next few years then? What's the plan? What's the grand plan in terms of what we would like to achieve?
We would like to support every parent in the UK in helping their child get through their exams with less stress, less nagging, and coming out with a better relationship with their child.
Yeah.
We want to take the pain out of education. We want to try and help improve education from the outside in.
Yeah.
So the grand plan includes Parent Guide to GCSE and Parent Guide to Post-16, so covering all those year groups, helping make sure that this group of school children are coming out the end of their school careers ready for what's next, with all the skills that they need and with the right mindset as well, being lifelong learners.
Yeah,
it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So just getting the word out there and continuing to build, because we know we help people. We get some amazing feedback from people about the difference that it's making. So it's all about getting out to more people now and growing as much as we can.
And you mentioned a key word there, the mindset, isn't it? You know, the mindset. And you are in a perfect position to actually talk about that because of your experience, what you've been through, and the lessons within. You can actually probably see people who are in that situation, and you can relate to you and see, they could be stuck here, and this is what they need to do. And you can help them that way. So that's quite a key thing. And that takes us to your interview on the BBC as well, because that was part of that. I remember I actually tuned in to listen to you on that day. But that's part of the things when you're in a particular field and doing things that you enjoy. The opportunities almost present themselves in a way, like when you started your community now, obviously you didn't know how big it can grow, but the opportunity is there, and in the future it can only expand. So talk us through the BBC and the interviews and coming onto there to talk about GCSE.
It was one of those things where it just kind of fell into our laps almost, but it was because we'd done things the way we'd done things. So one of our members had an older child who wanted to get onto a degree apprenticeship. So he needed some interview support and preparation and things. Paul was always a sixth form tutor, so this is very much his thing. And we wanted to add interview support to our little suite of programs. So he said, well, let's, we'll do this for you for free, because it helps us to develop the program and it helps him at the same time. So Paul put in lots of time helping this young man get himself ready for the degree apprenticeship and did a wonderful job. And we got an email from Mum just kind of updating us on the process and saying, thank you so much. By the way, she said, she'd mentioned, I'm sure if there's something I can do to thank you, I'll find it. By the way, she then said, I happen to be one of the, she works on Good Morning Britain and sources people for hearing as whatever. So she said, would Emily be interested in popping on Good Morning Britain on GCSE results day and talking about how parents can support their kids based on what results they get and things. Like, yes, please. Oh my gosh, terrifying. But sure. And this was in August, so we were still in the middle of everybody's locked down. So it was going to be virtual, which was much less scary, I think, although I'd love to be on the sofa at some point. But it was just like doing a Facebook Live. I was there on a computer, nice and easy, chatting away. And it was, they were so good at making sure that I was fully prepared. It was going to take me by surprise. And that made me feel quite confident, quite safe doing it. But if you'd have asked me a few weeks beforehand, is there any way you can get yourself on national TV? No. But because we'd gone above and beyond and helped, which is what we do, that opportunity presented itself. And again, you say yes, and then you figure out how. So it was amazing and fantastic exposure, publicity, but it was only possible because we'd taken the right steps. So if you haven't read Daniel Priestley's Key Person of Influence, you should. It's amazing. And he talks about how to position yourself as an expert in your field, because I am 15 years in education. I know my stuff.
Yeah.
It's about then positioning yourself as that. So all of the Facebook Lives that I've been doing, all of the basically acting as newscaster whenever there's an announcement about education, had got me out to, at one point, 80,000 people, which was a bit crazy. And all of those things started to add up. And then I'd had the opportunity to jump on a speaker training course, which had, and again, something I hadn't planned. I bought another course. There was a mini course as a bonus on how to pitch properly. And I went on that and thought, oh, do you know what? Actually, this could make a really big difference, because I'm not confident about the salesy side of things. I like to help people. I don't like to feel salesy. And I've struggled with that throughout this business stuff. And this speaker course had just kind of started building my confidence to the point where when I was then presented with this opportunity, I thought, you know what, I can do this. Like, yes, it's terrifying, but actually I do know what I'm doing. I do know how to present myself. I can do this. And again, that was just that series of little things that built up, saying yes to the opportunities that then meant when the big thing came along, it was something that I could do. So, very much looking for the opportunities and grabbing every opportunity you can. To learn new things, to get better, to improve, to,
And absolutely. And that's the key, like you're saying, when the opportunities present themselves, just grab them and figure it out later, rather than, get scared and actually miss them. And, when you're in that zone, actually, you can identify those opportunities, and you just, putting yourself out there. You've got the experience, the successes, everything that you have, and you can actually deliver all these things. So it's actually good to actually take opportunities as they present themselves like that, which is what you've actually demonstrated. So what would be your we talk about mindset. What would you say is the role of ongoing personal development or mentorship or education for people in terms of improving themselves in any particular way towards whatever life goal they would have?